Welcome to That Moto Show with Dirtbike TV's Jake Clark and producer Donnie Bales.
Welcome, show number 20. Yes, we are back in the studio, and we should hopefully be here for a while. And we'll try to get a guest in here soon, but not today. Today is just going to be a bunch of good tech questions for you. Show number 20. What do you think, Donnie?
Yeah, it's good. All my vacations are over, I guess, and I'm back to work.
So that's good. So, and hopefully we can get back to some riding soon too, this fall here. Show number 20. I always think of 20. For some reason, I think of Damon Huffman.
Yeah, Damon Huffman for sure.
Who else do you think of?
Well, Buddy Antonez ran number 20.
Yeah. Okay.
Jeff Matasevich ran number 20.
Yeah. These guys only had them for little bits. Okay.
But that's what those early numbers
I know.
were.
Okay. Brock Tickles now has been.
Brock Tickle has it.
I don't know if he still has. No, he doesn't have it because he's 920 something at when he did to those nationals this year.
Yeah.
Hey, Tickle, do you think him and Stewart both kind of got hosed on this whole WADA thing? I know it's way past. It's so old.
It's beyond hosed.
Yeah, it doesn't seem silly.
I have to feel like, and I don't want to get too whatever into it, but I have to feel like there was some politics there for some reason.
It's that board. You know, that's because I watched some of this Lance Armstrong special.
Yeah.
Okay. And that WADA was created in that whole midst, and I think that's really what fueled it. I don't know all the details. All I know is you and I both agree that whatever you take isn't going to make you any faster on a dirt bike.
Well, I mean,
it might help you in training.
You want to talk about Lance Armstrong? I think he got hosed because they all take it, right?
They were all doing it. Then
they were mad that he won.
They say now somehow it's clean. I'm like, I just don't know how, but because what you're physically doing seems impossible, right?
Right.
All right. Well, show number 20. A couple things to go over. First thing, you sent me a cool Instagram the other day. Okay, so can you do a little screen record and show it on the screen or a photo of it?
Yeah.
Have it on the screen right now. So I don't condone doing this. I'm not condoning doing this. What I liked most about this post, I don't know if you got into, did you read the comments?
Oh, you bet.
Okay. So
they were actually, surprisingly, there were a lot of motocrossers there.
Well, and it was surprisingly was so many people that even weren't motocrossers that didn't care about golf course.
Didn't care.
They just thought, who cares?
They go, are we making a big deal out of this?
Okay, so there's this golf course. And first of all, I don't think this was a dirt bike. I think it was a Sur-Ron. I think it was a big size Sur-Ron because if you look, and they also did donuts. You can see it right up here. And I think they could just put one leg down and did the donuts on the Sur-Ron. So I don't think it was a dirt bike guy. But so I don't condone doing this kind of stuff. But what really struck me was how much people don't really care for golfing that much. And this was a golf post. CBS Golf posted this, and somebody ruined the course. And I get that that's not right. It's vandalism. Okay, but people realize that golf courses really don't do a whole lot for the community. I think, so it's
there
kind
were
of
posts
funny.
about, hey, how much water is this thing sucking up? And
right.
then others were like, are we really concerned about this?
So my favorite comment was, because the post said, what should be the penalty for the guy? Did you catch the best comment?
I mean, I looked at a lot of them.
Okay, so the best one I caught right away was, he should get a 2-stroke penalty.
I saw that one. I did see that one.
So when I saw that, it was just busting up.
I can't believe how many motocrossers came across that post.
I think once a few saw it, then it starts getting into the motocrossers algorithm. And so then more people saw it. And that's how you probably saw it. Because you're not a golfer, obviously, right?
No.
Okay.
Oh, hey, Doug Henry ran number 20.
Doug Henry was 20 on the 4-stroke.
Sorry, on the 4-stroke.
Yeah.
All
right.
Anyway, that's what made me think of it.
All right, so cool
on
post.
the white 4-stroke, on the white one, the first year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then the other post you sent me was a really cool one where it was just kind of a funny meme. It was a guy riding. It says, I lost a really good buddy, a really good trail riding buddy, motorcyclist. And what did he say? He says, I got my... He got his finger
stuck in a ring.
Got his finger stuck in a ring.
All right.
So
I lost a good riding buddy in a hideous accident. His finger got stuck in a wedding ring.
I thought that was funny. So he lost his riding buddy because of that. So be careful, marry well, so that you don't have those problems. All right.
I was riding before I got even in a relationship with my wife.
Right.
So
she
like,
knew the program.
Right. No, like she came and there was a garage full of dirt bikes. I'm like, I guess I didn't say this, but I was like, you see this?
Mine knew, Sarah knew that I was passionate about it, let's say, but I didn't have the money to be that passionate about it.
Well, neither did I early. I'm just saying as.
So when, as it grew and it became my job and everything, and she saw that I enjoyed it, she supported me.
Yeah.
And then,
Me too.
so it's been fun.
Yeah.
So even though she does, well, why doesn't she, I don't care that she doesn't ride. And she does enjoy watching the races with me.
Yeah.
Because she's got, over the years, has become a fan of the sport and so
Yeah.
forth, is seeing it and having her fans, favorites. You know, she just loves, and she's taunting me. She likes Jet. Yes,
I
and
had
I know
a feeling.
right. So she's just, and so this weekend when we had the first SMX round.
Yep.
And I think both of us were hopeful or optimistic. We know Jet is incredible, right?
Right.
Both of us will admit it. He's incredible. But we're also used to having McGrath, RC, Stewart. We don't want someone just to go out and rip off and win a bunch of these. You know, he
Yeah.
won 11 in a row last year
Right.
outdoors. Won almost. Would he win almost every moto? Or
He won every moto.
He won every
last
moto
year.
last
Yeah.
year. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway. I don't wish bad on him, but I was hoping when he came back that it might be a little slow roll from getting going. I was stoked that Tomac rode well. He rode really well, right?
Listen.
Got your yeah.
That's my ET300.
He's representing.
So yeah, I couldn't tell you how. You know, I had an obligation, so I couldn't watch the race live,
Which
and
really ate at you.
it did eat at me.
Yes.
And in fact, I was like, okay, we have to leave. I told my wife, I'm like, and it was a family thing, and I'm like, I gotta go. I can't be here anymore. But I for real go into social media blackout.
I know.
Where I won't look at a thing, I won't answer texts, nothing.
And you like to watch it live when you can.
I watch it. I
And then
came
if
in,
you-
I watched it like whatever the first
Okay.
time.
And then didn't you watch it a second time last night?
I've watched it a third time.
Third time.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's not well. But I didn't have power. I was out of power last night for 7 hours for some
Yeah,
stupid
yeah.
reason because we had a little thunderstorm and then it messed things up. I don't know if somebody hit it. I don't know what happened.
I like to see. I watch the race first, like whatever the racing, and then I'm not some analyst, but I like to break down what they're
Right.
doing.
But Tomac looked good, and what's his name? And Jet looked really good also.
Yeah.
Riding in control. Hey, what I will talk about real quick though is it kind of sucks that track ate up 2 or 3 good guys.
Oh man, that's terrible.
So Barsha and Anderson both had some get-offs and didn't end up racing.
And also Plessinger had a get off, which
Oh, yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know how that affected him for the race because he didn't jump up and run off.
Right. It for sure affects you.
Yeah.
You bang yourself up the day before, you know. And then I think it was Cochran, maybe in the 250 didn't race either. He got
Yeah.
hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure who else, but what'd you think? Is that track a little dangerous?
I don't know if it's a track or the fact that all of these guys really, this is a chance to make one big giant bag of money. And so is that a factor, right? Like they have 3 races.
That sand and they're going in their high speed like that.
Yeah.
It looked like a couple of the crashes were
Oh yeah,
related.
there was crack. That sand was what got Anderson really bad.
Yeah. So anyway, it was fun to watch. It was great to get into. And now I got 2 more weeks of SMX, which is fun. So I got that.
I'm going to go to the final.
You're going to go.
Yeah.
You weren't going.
Yeah, I know, but then I watched this race and then
Now you're all pumped.
I called my buddy. I'm going.
You're going.
Yeah.
All right. When is it?
The 21st.
21st of September.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see. You didn't invite me.
You want to go?
Maybe.
You don't like going to races.
I know. I
So-
like watching them. I love watching them.
Yeah.
I went to a lot of them. Hey, real quick, we're gonna probably be selling. We're for sure selling one of our 350 SXFs. We might sell 2. 23. They both have spring conversions on them. 6500 kits. I also have the air forks. I have the stock ECUs if somebody wants a lesser price. So if someone's interested in a good 350 SXF for the track, they both have about 24 to 25 hours on them. Both really good bikes. Everything's nice. Just email me and I can get you details. Also, I'm gonna, in the future, in the next month or 2, start the process of selling some of the CR250s. If those guys are interested, 95, 96 steel frame, you know, museum looking bikes. That's what I'm hoping somebody's buying them for showpieces. I don't want to see them get flogged myself, but that's up to the person that buys them. But anyway, so I'm going to start working on that. We're shooting the last one this week with Racer X, so that'll be fun. So you can hit us up on that. So I think we're ready to get started. Anything else before we go?
No, I think we can do what you want to do.
Okay. So first thing is this is a comment from a guy, really cool, older guy like us, right? And his name's David H. My glasses are dirty, so it wasn't really helping much. I should have cleaned them off. Okay. It says, first of all, I love all your content. I wanted to drop you a line and share my story. He's 53 years old and pretty dedicated family man. He grew up riding dirt bikes for fun. As a kid, and remember you in the magazine from way back when. I rode all the way through high school, a little bit in college, and as I grew older and family took over. This is a common thread, right? We've heard this so many times.
Their finger got caught in a ring.
Right, their finger. But I can't argue that, hey, sometimes life gets in the way.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's admirable, and what you should do is provide for your family first. So I'm not going to like knock somebody too bad. Okay.
I agree.
Okay. He stopped riding and focused on his family. His first bike was a 78 RM80. Mine was a 77 RM80. Okay.
Same bike.
So, yeah, it would be the same, right?
Same bike.
Okay. Yeah. For this period, then he had a 2010 YZ450, the first backwards engines, and those weren't that great. But,
no. They handled terribly.
Yeah, the bike before that, the 09, that's what those guys were racing, Stewart and Chad Reed and those guys.
Yeah, well, GL won his championship on that those 07, that frame bike.
Yeah, that bike was good.
Yep.
Carburetor was good. Anyway, fast forward to 21. Most of the kids have grown and started their own life. This gave him more time to get back into riding. And he tells me about his addiction. Being older, a bit more money now has allowed him to buy a couple great bikes. He bought a YZ250X, which he rebuilt from the frame up and put pretty much everything on. You can throw on it, electric start even, Electron, a Recluse, Apex head, you name it.
Wait, how do you put electric start on that?
There's a kit, and it goes over there. Yeah, on the left side.
Oh, wow.
And then he got a bunch of upgrades, and then he bought a Stark Varg to ride around close to the house, and built it up to mimic his YZ250. So in both bikes, DecalWorks did the graphics. I'll have pictures that we can show right now with these two bikes. They look cool because they're matching bikes. And he says that the YZ is great for the longer rides, and the Varg pretty much anything else. So, close. Anyway, I just dropped you a note. Thank you for all you've done for the sport. Your passion for is quite apparent and admirable. One thing that is often overlooked is how awesome our wives are to allow us to spend so much time and money, as a bunch of dollar signs, on our hobby. We just talked about that, so that's important. Marry well, kids, right? And you
at least marry nice.
Nice, and once.
Because
then if you do 2 or 3 times, there's no money for dirt bikes.
No, there's no money for dirt bikes.
Right, okay. All right, so we've seen all that. I am blessed with a wonderful wife, and it's clear you are too. See, look at that. He knows. All right. Being able to expose my son to the sport now is a gift, and is simply keeps on giving. I love your content, including the 80s CDs, which I grew up listening to as well. Keep it up. I'll keep on watching. And he has a few pictures attached. So that's a great story from David. We appreciate it. It's cool that he's found himself a good niche and he can enjoy something later in life. I even got one of these similar to this today as well that I didn't get into this list, but it's just a common thread. Guys getting back into riding, which is so cool. It shows that you don't lose it, right? If you ride it 10 to 15 to 18 or whatever in that window,
it stays with you forever.
Yeah, and so maybe you've been just watching some supercrosses and stuff. And
both of our wives kind of have a fault, and they're very similar.
Yeah,
they both bake amazing baked good. Your wife's sourdough bread is unbelievable, and then Tish is always baking me banana bread. I'm like, I'm trying to lose weight, and it never helps.
We've been on a good program now. We've been doing good, but it's only a short time, so I can't get too confident. It's only been like a week and a half. So
listen. We've got to celebrate our wins.
Right. I need to get to 3 to 5 weeks.
What win did I have the other day? What did I do that I won at Glen Helen? What were you saying? You were all day. You're saying I was celebrating my win.
Oh, because you did a long moto.
Because I did a long moto.
Yeah.
You
were just like on cloud 9. You would have thought they were interviewing you.
I was pumped.
Yeah. I come in and you're just like telling this stories, and you were just like grin because you did like a 40-minute moto. Or something.
Yeah. So I was so pumped.
Right. Good job.
Yeah. I had to celebrate my win. Nobody else is going to.
No. All right, let's get to some questions.
All right. Christopher P. Hi, Jay. I'm fairly new to dirt bikes. I've been riding with my son for about 9 months now. Your content has been really informative. I had a question I wanted to ask you. What's a good overall soap that I can use all over the bike when we're done riding? Just looking for something safe, really. Thanks.
Okay, I'm back. Okay, while Donnie was reading that, I forgot. I didn't bring any scrubbing bubbles. I really like scrubbing bubbles because it's in a can like this. It works really well. Also, glass cleaner works really well, and they're not really nasty on you. This is the refill bottle for the scrubbing bubbles. It looks like that. I like to get it in the spray can. You can get like 3 or 4 of them at a time at Walmart or Sam's Club.
I've done the spray can and I've done this refill. The spray can is way better.
Yes. Okay. Good.
For sure. So that's why that's empty, because I like
no more. All right. So and this works. I really like this too. Using it a lot of little places. You got little. Say you're done washing the bike, you're re-prepping it like that, and then we use a lot of WD too, just when we're little spots to clean up or anything to lube. We use that. People get on me, say it's not a rust thing, it's not this or that, but it works just fine for a lot of things. Really good lubricant under the fenders and stuff, things like that. It works well. So, while I might as well just talk about this. This is a brand new thing from Tusk, and it's called First Line Gloss Coat. What do you guess it is? I guess it's a shiny maker. SC1. Basically. They can't put it on there, but so it smells great. Can you put that on there? Yeah, the little tape. I was going to say SC1, but I didn't want to, I didn't know. So anyway, they're not promoting that, but it works as good and it's way less money. So a good option for you guys if you want. This works really well like under the fenders, those kind of things. I don't like to put it on the graphics because it gets too slippery. I get guys, and then I'll have to stop. I actually get dirt and put dirt in my hands and rub it on the seat and on the sides of the graphics. The bike's too slippery. It drives me crazy. So watch out for that. Don't get the sides of your bike. Be careful on the sides of your bike to get it too slippery. When I was young, I knew somebody that one time sprayed WD-40 on their seat to make it look shiny. Oh, yeah. That was a problem. All right, Jeff. I see guys that hit the rotors. Their dads hit the rotors. So they went out and they lost all their brakes. That'll destroy the brake pads forever. Yeah. They'll be gone forever. You'll never get them back. All right. Jeff G. Dunlop TL01 versus a K950. Do y'all have any reviews comparing these tires for rocky off-road riding? I know the K950 is street legal, but was wondering how it would compare off-road. I ride a Husky FX 450. Thanks. Okay, great question. We get a lot of guys who are not open to running a trials tire on the trail, but I will tell you, we really like the trials tire in the rear. We used to run the D803, the Dunlop trials tire that's been the same for a long time. Great tire. Now it's been updated to the TL01, even better tire. The K950 is an older one that is street legal, and that's why it's still around. It's actually a lot less money. It's like less than half the price. It's like $85. So it's really. What do you think people worry about? The pattern? Yeah, just because it doesn't look beefy. Yeah. So the only place, I was telling a guy today, actually, I wrote a guy back, the only place it doesn't work great. So if you're going to buy it for an all-around use, it works great. It lasts longer than the other one, okay? Because the only place it doesn't work great is on a track. So if you were to stop at a track situation, you don't want it. What about mud and snow? So deep mud is not great, and snow is not great. It packs up with mud. So those two situations are bad. So out west here, the trials tire is great for all the fire roads. We don't have any mud or snow. Right. It's such a minimal window. And so the few times that we've dealt with it, but for out west, I think a trials tire is good. For sure, it's great. It's one of the best tires you can run up in the mountains in the summertime. Like anything out west here, whether even from Washington, Idaho, Montana, all that stuff, it works so good on the trails. Also, you don't dig holes, and it works. It has good grip, and we run down we're running like we usually run like 8 psi in it, and so that's why. So that K950 is a great tire for the value, and it will last a long time. That's why. So would there be? That's what we're putting on your. On my EXC that we're going to have coming out soon. We'll have your build. Would there be an argument to make these tubeless, to run them even at a lower pressure? I don't think so, man, because I think the problem is the high speed, because you do have some high speed connector stuff, and you risk. Because I've heard people running like 4 pounds, but they risk getting a pinch flat. Yeah, and I think making a tubeless motocross rim is a hassle. You have to use that whole system. Yeah, it's system. So, all right. So I like running a tube. I double tube them actually. Yeah, and we don't have very little problems. So. Oh, right. So that would prevent the flats. The pinch flats. Yeah. Okay. So we do pretty good. So. All right, William M. Hey man, my bike idles very high when I turn the gas off and leave it running to drain the carburetor. 2-stroke YZ125. So totally normal. That's because it's running out of air. So it's running lean, it revs up, totally normal, but I probably wouldn't do it. So the best thing to do is you could do that as soon as it starts to die like that, turn it off.
Because you're running it out of oil as well.
Right. And so what I do is turn it off and just lay it over on both sides, and then it'll drain out the bottom right onto your,
My KX500, all I do is turn it off and lay it over on both sides. I don't even let it run down.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
So good job.
Yeah. Joseph Z, CR 125 jetting. Hey Jay, I was hoping you could help me out. I have a 2002 CR 125. My question is, when I crack the throttle wide open under a load, it bogs, but if I slowly get into the throttle, it will pull through the power band and pull and rev to the moon. Does this mean that I'm running lean on the pilot jet? Cheers, mate. I hope to hear from you soon.
So it can be either one. That's the problem. So first of all, it sounds like his main jet's fine in theory. But the first thing I tell guys, first thing to do before you do anything is check where you're at. I've mentioned this before, but Pro Circuit has a good jetting page. There's links from our Google to get there in our Google Doc. So check what the stock jetting is, see where you're at, compare those, and then work from there. So that's the first thing to do. Then secondly, in this case, it can be either one of those. So what I recommend, what I would guess in this case is play with the air screw to see if it gets better with the air screw by backing it out. See if it gets worse, go in till it gets better. And you only go out to 3 and then go all the way into like a half. See which way it gets better or worse. Then and if it's not making a huge difference, then I'd put it back at 1.5, 2, and then look at the needle and probably go one richer on the needle. Try that first, then try one leaner on the needle and see which one gets rid of that.
When you start dealing with the needle, it can get complicated, right? Because they get narrow. If you're changing needles.
Changing needles gets way out of most people's pay grades.
Right.
So a guy like Tom Morgan's really sharp and understands all the different spots that change it. For the most part, I'm telling you, on most of these bikes, it's really not that hard because the stock jetting's pretty close. Usually you're just one clip away on most bikes, for most guys.
So if there's some radical jetting problems, it's probably another problem.
Something else.
Right.
Something else is going on.
That's good to know.
Usually. So I just tell this guy, don't be scared to try needle clip. And I would just do one at a time. And I would do the richer one first, then go to the leaner one. See if it made it worse or better, which it probably, say it made it worse, then go the other way.
Probably have a good idea to have like a whiteboard or take some type of notes on where you're at, up
Pay
and
attention
down.
to where you're at. And one of the good things, on those, or whenever you're doing needles and stuff, if you're not familiar with it, take the tank off. And every case, because if you try to bend it, you're going to end up bending either the needle or ruining the cable top. And don't ask me how I know these things, but I do. So take the tank off. Take the time.
Has trial and error been in your life?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's how. So people go, man, you know a lot of stuff. Well, we messed up a lot of stuff.
We messed up a lot of stuff. Hey, listen, we're not
in a hurry at the track, and you're like, oh, we think we can do it, and then we get it back on, and then you kind of kink the cable a little bit.
We're still not immune to messing things up.
Phew.
It still happens.
Yeah, that's
because you're whatever we're at, the situation you're in. Yeah. All right. David B. Hey Jay, another question about my. Said Kai, about my KTM SXF 450. I have a stock bike with no clutch mods, wondering if there was a way to adjust the hydraulic clutch. It seems very tight, specifically cold, and the bike stalls when I get it into gear. Running Rotella oil, up north, riding right now, so trying to figure out so I don't ruin anything. Thanks.
Okay, so this is a common thing. A lot of guys get worried. Maybe they're new to hydraulic clutches. They're new to KTM brand bikes. But when you start up those bikes, first thing I do is you let it idle for a bit, and I fan the clutch. I let it in and out a few times. Let it get a little bit there, but you don't want the bike to idle for a minute. We don't want to be going crazy, but let it idle for, mess with it for 20 or 30 seconds, get it warmed up, and then take off to go do your warm up. And when you pull that clutch in all the way, when you tap it into gear, rev it up a little bit at the same time, and it'll take off. So
right before I put it into gear, sometimes I don't rev it, but I rev it a tad bit and just pull the clutch in and hold it for a second.
Right.
And it's pumping oil.
It's getting oil all in there. Also, with a hydraulic clutch, the fluid needs to be changed regularly, probably even more so than the brake fluid. So that's something to flush that fluid out of the clutch master. It's really quick and easy to do. We have videos on it, and that helps a ton. So that's what I recommended. The oil and the fluid in there can get smoked. The stock stuff can get smoked really quick, it seems like. So for most guys, I tell them 20 to 30 hours max on the oil once a year minimum. We do ours a couple times a year probably.
Do you run a high temp, like 600 dot, all that, right?
And we have it on our dock. We get it just at the auto parts store because we found good metal can stuff, and you get like $15 for a huge bottle. last most people a long time. Lasts us like 6 months or so.
Right.
All right.
Which is still a long time.
Right.
All right. Richard P. I vote for keeping the shows long. More time equals more knowledge to us.
There you go, Donnie.
All right. Well, yeah. Listen, I don't mind them long. I just don't want them like 3 hours long. I did another show where the show was how long?
Some of them are 5 or 6.
5 or 6 hours. So I got a little wore out on long shows.
Right.
All right. So I have a 2013 Honda CRF 250L, 10,000 miles, that has recently started to lurch, stutter only in first and second gear as I open the throttle. It feels like a clutch problem, but I'm confused that it only happens in first and second gear as I open the throttle. Any suggestions or troubleshooting this issue would be appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, when certain things start to happen like this, your bike starts to run worse. If you had a carburetor, you would assume that it's like, hey, a stuck, dirty pilot jet or anything. And that's kind of what it sounds like is going on here, is that his fuel filter or something is an issue. And when I suggested that, it did sound like he was going to go check that. I haven't heard back, but it sounds like he was going to go check that. And maybe he'd even heard of some issues of doing the fuel filter in those. So that's something to look at. If your bike starts to run bad on a bike like this, usually the fuel filters can go out, but the clutches usually don't go out on those types of bikes unless you're just really abusing it, right? So just know that with those kind of bikes. So these fuel injected bikes, you have to look at fuel filters. I mean, especially with 10,000 miles, I'm guessing is a lot of hours.
Yeah, that is quite a bit.
More than we would do.
A little bike that's a lot.
Yeah. All right.
Charles W., what beaker do you use for engine oil? I've looked at it on Amazon, but they only go to 1,000 cc's.
Yes. So this is the one. This is the one in our links. If you go to our links in our Amazon deal, we have a spreadsheet with all the links. This is the one, and it is only 1,000. But luckily, we're not terrible at math. And if you need to put in 1,200 or 1,250, you go 1,000, and then you go 200 or 250. So it's pretty easy. So the only way you'd mess up is if you forget to put in that second amount, right? But if you put in the first amount, the 1,000, you're usually going to be okay anyway. So you can get it. It's pretty cheap. It's like $12 or $15. So they're pretty cheap. Donnie's got one here at his place. So it is a nice kind of, I like doing it in there. I get a real good view. I don't know why it's a lot nicer than some of the other ones we used to use.
Yeah, I don't know why the moto industry hasn't really come up with something like this.
I don't know. We still have a ratio right.
Ratio right, yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Which I've never really used. Like I use them, but I read the ounces. I don't ever do the math on there because
I never do the math. I only do the ounces, and
Right.
it's only for that stuff right there.
Right.
So you might as well talk about that right now.
Because right now we have this Ski Craft. Okay, this is Klotz Ski Craft. It's a really good oil for your jet skis, and I brought one over for Donnie's jet ski. They put a chart on here that tells you how many ounces per gallon for what ratio. We usually run 40-1, which is 3.2 ounces.
3.2 ounces.
Which is memorized, right? Like you just go, 3 times 3.2. If you're doing 3 gallons, usually you're going to do 4 or 5. But so you can do that. Really good oil to use. So we always do the math that way. So hopefully that helps you guys out.
All right. Why don't we'll do one more question and then we'll do some products.
All right.
Okay. This is a long kind of question anyway. Paul S. Hey, Jay, I'm having a problem with the way my daughter's bike is running. Let me explain the situation. It's a brand new YZ85 that we just got last Wednesday. She's 13 years old and this is her first 2-stroke. We're on the East Coast at sea level. We followed the break-in instructions from Yamaha and ran 20-1 for 4 cycles. Black oil was all over the silencer. We've seen this before, haven't we? Drained the 20-1, put in 32-1. Rode yesterday at our club for 4 hours. 1 hour in the woods, and then laid some trails for hare scrambles that we're hosting. The other 3 hours were play riding in the gravel pit. Still black oil is out of the silencer. How do I fix this problem? I've talked to a lot of people with a lot of different answers.
Okay, right there. He has, and there's some of these are good suggestions and some aren't, but this is what we get, and this is a really common thing. So let's hear what these guys suggested.
Okay, first say change to 40-1. Then it's run a hotter plug, adjust the air screw, rejet the carb, get her to stay on the throttle more. And the question is, where should I start? I don't want to screw anything up. Any tips would be appreciated.
Okay, so a couple things here. First of all, this is a very common problem, okay, that guys have. Secondly, it's awesome that he's out taking his daughter riding, and he sent a couple pics. Looks like she's having a good time and ripping. So then my next thing that I told him straight away is, don't tell her she has to be more on the gas.
Yeah, do not tell her
This isn't her fault, but in a way it is, like the way she's riding. But that's not her fault. Like, you don't want to make her go faster than she's comfortable going.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Wait a second. Did you see that kid hucking that?
Oh, that's SMX. We didn't talk about that.
We didn't talk. I'm sorry.
Finish line.
It just popped in my head.
That kid's going too fast.
He was going too fast.
Hucking the finish line.
I wouldn't huck that jump.
Did you see he got penalized?
That's the lamest thing ever.
After they decided 10 minutes before the race. And so he at the trophy thing, he was number one. But then later they took it away.
They need to give that back to him.
Yeah. So anyway, Gray is his last name.
Yeah,
he's from
Carson Gray.
He's from out here.
Yeah, no, he's from.
I thought he was from California.
He's from like Ohio. The guy in second was from California.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry about. I just thought about that guy hucking that jump.
So first of all, it's great this guy's getting his daughter into riding and spending time and doing this. So the reality is, this bike, if you had a fast, like this kid's going to be when he's on an 85, that
he's not going to have any black oil.
He's not going to have any black oil. So that's the big difference. He's riding a track wide open, not doing any trail riding, wide open. He's not going to have any stuff. So that's the first thing. So I agree that it needs to be ridden more, harder. So, but also another side note, but it looks like the photos I saw, she is going fairly decent, right?
But it doesn't hurt the bike if the black goo is coming out.
No, it doesn't hurt anything, unless you're fouling plugs, which we'll get into.
Yeah.
So, what I tell guys is, you don't want to pressure them to go faster than they can. So let's accept that. The reality is, for a lot of people, they're better off with a CRF 1. Was that 125? The one I bought from you?
Yeah, 125.
125F or a TTR, something like that, as a play bike to get going. You don't have to deal with any of that. So if you on a 4-stroke. So if you have a 2-stroke, that's fine. They smell cooler. They make better noise. All that.
They sound amazing.
Right. So the biggest answer is don't change the oil ratio. 32-to-1 is the least I would do. A lot of people recommend 20-to-1 on those small bikes, but that would be for a faster kid. So 32-to-1, stay there. You need that lubrication down in the lower rod bearing. That lubrication is what's lubricating this, not just the cylinder walls, but this. So we need that lubrication there. So keep it at 32-to-1. And then as far as the jetting, yes, you could probably lean it out a little bit. And what the key to this is, you don't want anybody else riding the bike. So if her cousin or brother comes over that's way fast and going to ride up and down a sand wash or in the mud, he's going to blow the thing up. Okay. So if it's just her riding it and she's just learning and going, novice speeds, let's say, you can lean that thing out a little bit. I usually start with the pilot jet, go 1 leaner, needle, 1 leaner, main, 1 leaner, but do them in separate intervals. The next thing is, like you said, the ooze doesn't matter. The only thing that's really going to hurt is your silencer is going to fill up with oil a little sooner. You have to rebuild that. Also, I tell guys, if it drips onto your swing arm, spray a little WD on that swing arm area so that it's really clean, easy to clean off.
It doesn't stay black.
It won't stain anything and so forth. So when you wash your bike, it comes right off.
Hey, listen, I would say until she's going wide open, just learn how to pack a silencer. It's not that big of a deal.
But you can lean it out a little bit.
Yeah.
I gave him some suggestions on that. We compared the PC jetting, sent him that. I suggested, hey, let's do the needle and main first, because the stock needle is in number 2. So I'd like to do this 1 leaner on the pilot, 1 leaner on the main. Try that and get her started.
Honestly, if you're unsure, it's better to run a little rich.
Right.
But
like you said, he's afraid of ruining it. But the reality is, they're pretty safe. If you do little, you're not changing.
Right.
You're only changing from a 178, let's say, to a 175. Or I'm not positive the numbers, but you're only going to go one size.
Yeah.
You're not going to go 10.
Right.
So make it a big difference. All right, keep that in mind.
All right, why don't you run the rest of these products?
Let's do a products. Okay, so we're good here. So we're
going to do that music last.
Okay. ProX has rod kits for rebuilding cranks. This is a 65 rod that's what those guys were racing, that kid.
Oh, yeah.
It's the size of rod in that bike that hooked over that jump.
I think he was on a Cobra.
That I wouldn't even want to jump.
No. Okay. No.
And interesting story in that class. There was no Kawasaki's, 65s.
Nope.
There was 1 Yamaha.
Yep.
6 or so Cobras.
Yep.
And the rest were KTMs. And KTM got second.
Yep.
Cobra won.
Yeah.
So pretty gnarly, and pretty gnarly that Cobra could win.
That guy came basically. The guy just basically was what he. There was no bike that filled his niche, and he just built one basically.
Yeah. Oh, back when they're doing 50s.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he started 25 years ago. Whatever.
Yeah, but I'm just saying he's like, I'm going to build a bike.
Yeah, Bud was it? I can't remember.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was cool. You know, he's all sold now. But
I know it's sold.
They're obviously doing a good job. The bike can run like that. I'm not a huge fan of kids going that fast or needing that. I'm a fan.
I was nervous.
Oh. And
I was nervous with, the little rhythm section, the little one.
Yeah.
He was doubling out and he was like clipping it. And I was like, that was scaring me.
Right. So Japanese quality, Japanese made, you got bearings, your thrust washers, bearing, everything comes with the top end bearing as well. Really good one.
How long has Pro-X been in business?
Oh gosh, 40 plus years, I would think.
So you don't stay in business that long without making amazing products.
Good stuff, exactly. Yeah. ASV, they were around a lot in the 90s and early 2000s, and they made these Y handles, I called them. It's really cool. It's 3/8 drive. And what's nice about these, you can put whichever bit you like on there. And we've done that with that. We've talked about those grip edge ones recently. It's for Allen wrenches. We've been using those. So those are nice to have on there.
I run them in a backpack and fanny pack too, off-road.
Over one of these?
Yeah.
It's a little heavy.
Nah.
I don't like carrying. I'm carrying enough extra weight, as I say.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. So two-stroke head. This is a 300 head modified by Tom Morgan, TMR. And so there's a couple of things. Nothing makes better power on a two-stroke than compression. You just add some compression, it makes better power. Now, that's not always what you need. If I'm motocrossing, say, a YZ250, I don't want any more power. But if you're trail riding up in the mountains, on like our 300 two-strokes, you can use a little more power. So they'll actually take some distance off of here, but also reshape the dome. So you can do just a skim on a case, and mini bikes pick up a good amount of power, but the dome shape is also what's going to affect the power. So Tom Morgan does a good job of head mods, and you don't have to send your whole cylinder in to get ported. You can get just a head cut and get a pretty good increase of power, especially on those trail bikes. Especially if you're riding a lot of mountain stuff, I'd recommend looking at a head mod.
Tom Morgan, he built motors for Jeff Ward and stuff early, right?
Oh yeah, he was a mechanic
there. He was the mechanic, and
he did all the privateer engines for like the late 90s to early 2000s. Basically, any privateer, Heath Voss and all these guys that were top privateers were all running his motors because he was the only other guy.
He was the only guy.
Kind of like Twisted is now the only other guy in the four-stroke class.
Yeah.
He was the only other guy in the 250 and even 125 class. Josh Grant
he originally did like all the frame gussets and stuff on the Kicks 500. He knew all that stuff, I think.
Yeah, I haven't even gone over that with him, to tell you the truth.
I think he did, honestly. But whatever.
But yeah, legend on that stuff, and he's back in Wisconsin of all places. So
yeah,
he's getting ready to.
Was he out here originally?
Florida,
and
then he's out here for a bit and been around. Yeah. So anyway, so there's some great products for you guys to look at, and let's get back into some questions, man.
Yeah, all right. Hello, I'm Chris from Western Maryland. I love your show and the 80s metal that you talk about. We do a lot of riding on the back roads of West Virginia. To get to our trail or whatever we're riding that day, there's a lot of decommissioned roads from way back when we ride in. Let me see.
These are the haulers, man.
Yeah. We recently were searching for new trails on the Ride Command app and made a wrong turn into some guy's driveway. Oh, I know where this is going. He came out and chased us down, blocking the road, and went bat-ass crazy on us for about 10 minutes. The question is, have you ever guys has this happened to you, and how do you deal with it?
Well, I think it's a case-by-case basis. I mean, the reality is, if you're truly mistaken in where you've been, where you're at, you just want to be humble and honest and be like, hey, I'm really sorry we're in here, and just be like that. And hey, you got a great place here. We don't mean to bug you. Those are kind of things I would say. And then remember, you're on a dirt bike. So if you feel threatened, I would be looking for an escape at any time.
I had a guy throw a trash can lid at us. Now, it didn't get close to me. It got close to my buddy, but old metal trash can lid. Yeah. And he threw it, and it just about clipped my buddy off his bike.
The other thing I've learned is if somebody's waving you down to talk, they're usually, I've learned, aren't asking for autographs, which I thought at first they might be, but they're not. So I've learned with our crew to just keep on going.
Every time my wife says she wants to talk, it's always about something I need to do.
So I learned we just keep going. Don't engage is the first rule of thumb. If you can get away and just leave and not come back, that's what I would recommend. So that's number one. And then if you get into that confrontation situation, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'd be looking for an exit strategy quick, especially if you don't know, the surroundings, of what this guy could do, potentially.
You know what I've had recently? GL and I were riding like over in Wildemar, and we were hooking some trails on dual sport bikes, and the guy came out, you can't ride dirt bikes here, and it's like, these are street legal motorcycles.
Right.
And he was like, no, they're not, they're dirt bikes. I'm going to call the cop.
Yeah.
I'm like, go right ahead.
Call. So that's another thing, is our dual sports do look like, dirt bikes. They just think we're lying or whatever. So our dual sports can look, kind of, we got the graphics on there and the numbers, so they look a little racy, so they could think that it's not, but it is. And so that's one of the advantages of dual sports, is we're going to be able to go to those. Any road a Jeep can go, we can go. So that's something to, keep in mind. But I just say, be respectful and try to, not cut up somebody's golf course, let's say, right? But, and be respectful, and you'll be fine. I mean, most people don't want a confrontation unless the guy, and there are angry guys. We did have a couple winter, it's been, I guess it's been like 8 or 10 years ago. We were all riding out at this abandoned area, and the shotgun pellets landed, where I'm hearing and seeing them hit the grass, dude. So that encourages you to leave. At
a rapid rate.
It was somewhat persuasive. Yeah. To go.
No more arguments.
No, because he just shot it up in the air, and then he was far enough away to where when they were landing, because we had the bikes off, and because we could see far away. And we're waiting for everybody to get together, and then pellets are landing.
Were we together?
So that's the closest
when
I've been.
Somebody's yelling at us to leave, and it wasn't even the guy's land. And it's like,
yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah,
I do learn that people act like it's their land when it's not. So
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Christian L. If my rear sprocket nuts are new with locking style nuts, do you still recommend I use Loctite?
Yes, but we prefer not to use Loctite. The company that owns Loctite, this Henkel Group, they donated to a bunch of tree hugger trail groups for some silly reason.
Terrible.
So just watch out for that. But we've been using Stuck Nuts is this company, and they just a Moto guys. But we also recommend using a low or a medium thread locker, and use it just on the threads and also on the concave part of the sprocket. Put a dab in there and on the convex part of the bolt, because that locks it into the sprocket. That's actually what holds it, believe it or not, holds it a lot more than you might think, because that concave part of the sprocket has some imperfections. It kind of glues it in between there. So we've had 0 failures since we've done that. I mean, just with Loctite, with our thread locker in there, we tighten those up. Never had a problem. So I for sure would do that on every time. Now, when you go to remove those, you want to use heat. Heat it up. That kind of melts the thread locker, and then it'll be easier to do it without creating a mess for yourself.
And what Christian said is actually pretty important. Always use new nuts and bolts when you're replacing your...
And we don't always do that. Now, one of the reasons we don't is because we don't stretch the bolts. Now, so one of the reasons that people recommend is because they stretch the bolts really tight.
Well, if they run a machine on it.
Really hard. And so we don't get them that tight with our thread locker on there, and so we don't stretch bolts. But yes, if we do pick up a bike that looks like it's had a tough life on those bolts, we get rid of them. Most of ours, we change them 2 or 3 times before we'd ever think of getting new ones.
You can see the head of the bolt too. If it has a lot of dents in the head,
you can tell it's been used a bunch. We use the spec bolts a lot on our new wheeled builds, and they've all been fine. We haven't had any issues at all.
Perfect.
Hey, even on some of those those bolts you buy, sometimes they have the thread locker on there that's dry.
Yep.
We actually wire wheel that off. I don't like it.
It's like yellow or whatever, right?
Some of them are blue. I don't like it on there because...
Honda has yellow on all their stuff.
I don't like it on there because... it messes me up on my whole program of how I do it normally. And then when you go to remove them, it's really hard. It feels like it's really difficult to get the nut off.
Yeah, you have extra glue on there.
So much stuff in there. So I prefer to wire wheel that stuff off and just use the thread locker, the liquid thread locker, and it's been fine.
Yeah. All right. Ashley K. Hi, Jay. Any recommendations for cam chain tensioner upgrade for my KTM 350? Cheers from Australia, mate. I added the mate.
Right on. Well, first of all, and I know there's some concern about it because the KTM one's a hydraulic with oil that fills it, and it can be a little loud on startup. But beyond that, we've never really had any failures. I know some people are concerned about it. They put a manual one on, like a Dirt Tricks, which I have no problem if somebody does. But I'm telling you, for most people, the stock one's just fine.
Nice. All right. David H. I have a 500 EXCF, acted like it's running out of gas, but I can still see 4 or 5 inches of fuel on the left side. Oh, I already know where this is going. I've heard of you guys just swapping out the tank and pump for ones that work better and pick up the fuel. But this seems like I shouldn't have to do this with a brand new bike. There's a lot of things we shouldn't have to do with a brand new bike. I was able to bounce the fuel up and to get the fuel on the right side, but I shouldn't have to do this either. Any ideas about this?
Well, I agree with you. You shouldn't have to do it.
I agree too.
But you do.
But you do.
Okay, so first of all, if you go to tacomoto.co and on their YouTube channel, we'll try to have a link in here. We'll get a link in the video description on that part of it. If you go to their video, he has a really good video describing this whole problem. He has a cutaway of a stock tank and it shows the problem so you can understand the problem. They replaced it with a better fuel pump, but unfortunately with the frame style they have, it just sits too far away from the low part of the fuel. So he's made a siphon deal, snorkel that goes down and will get most of the rest of the fuel. Unfortunately, it's not available yet. He's still working out those details, which is quite involved with legality and all that, unfortunately. So he's working on that, but at least it explains it all well to you. The other option, which we're doing on Donnie's his 500 EXC, we're putting a big tank on there for that big dual sport ride, that adventure ride. It's going to be a big tank, and we're running the old pump. And so we're going to put the
old...
What
are we doing on my 350?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we did, and we put one on his 350 as well. That's more involved, but on his 350 I drilled holes, put an old pump, but connected to the new pump connectors. It was a bit of a chore.
We did some engineering there,
but we got it done.
Yeah.
So that is your only other options, is working with an old pump, which isn't cheap. They're like $420 each. For, to even get just the pump, let alone the fittings you need and all that.
Have you heard an explanation as to why KTM designed it this way?
I think it was good enough for Moto, and in reality is 90%. It seems like of their development is to, and I think most of the manufacturers are this way, is to satisfy motocross and supercross. So when they build a SX or Honda's building a CR, they're more concerned with the CR or the KX like Cowie's. They're more concerned with that bike than the off-road bikes.
Right.
They don't care.
Right.
They just don't. So the off-road bike's going to get an 18-inch rear wheel, a kickstand, a bigger tank. We're going to give it these things, maybe a headlight in some cases or whatever, some hand shields.
But essentially, most of the parts on a KTM are interchangeable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the.
But so unfortunately, this tank situation is a drag. I suggest you watch that video. He did a good job of explaining it and, all the ins and outs of it and what the options are for the future, what options you can do. So you can see it with a cutaway, and I think it'll help everybody get a grasp. If you have a 23, 24 new generation bike, I would look at it.
Unfortunately, there's no simple solution.
No cheap solution.
No cheap solution.
Because that's what this guy's thinking. Hey, I just spent 11, 12 grand or whatever it is. Was it an EXC he had? Yeah. So he for sure spent a good amount of money. So
more than 12 grand.
Right. So he's like, I shouldn't have to do this. And I agree.
I agree with him as well.
Because it's only good enough.
They should have stuck with the old style pump. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it just had a lot of failures. But they should have figured something else out.
It had failures because they overheated when there was no fuel around.
And it only seemed to happen on bikes that had tons of hours. Like
right.
we honestly had one fail, but it was a used bike I bought that had a ton of hours on it. But we haven't really had any others fail with under 100 hours. So these bikes are all 150 plus hour bikes that have the fuel pumps fail typically that I've seen. So maybe somebody else has some feedback they can let me know.
Yeah, that'd be good. All right, Cody N. I'm looking for some straightforward clicker advice. Well, there's none of that, but we can go. As I can't seem to find a direct answer, I know there won't be a magic number of the clickers that you can give. I'm just looking for a better understanding. I'm chasing a bottoming issue with the rear shock on a 19 YZ250 stroke, and will start by saying that the bike...
You're like this?
Am I getting to something? Wait a second. You're already laughing and I haven't gotten there. All right. And the bike came with an aftermarket link, okay, which they do put a little more pressure on the shock, but all right. And I understand that can result in needing a stiffer spring. I also understand that my weight's 230-ish. I'm not calling out big guys because I'm a big guy, but calls for a stiffer spring as well, just looking to make some clicker adjustments.
Okay, so...
he's a novice, vet C, 6 foot tall and 230 pounds. Thanks for that.
He missed a part about his 6 foot. He says he has short legs, I think.
How do you have short legs? I'm a bit short-legged. How do you be short-legged
I don't know.
and 6 foot tall?
But I'd be curious to find out.
Have you seen my son?
Right.
He's 6'1" and he's not short-legged.
So there is. So anyway, if he's basically 5 inches taller than me, or something, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Sarah's going to say 6 inches, but yeah, 5 inches taller than me.
I don't think she has room to talk, honestly.
So 5 inches taller than me. I don't think that the leg issue is a problem.
No.
Okay. So sorry, dude. I run all the stock height and everything. On most of those bikes, I'd probably prefer to put the stock linkage back on and start from there. The next thing is no clickers are going to solve 40 or 50 pounds. Okay, 30 to 50 pounds. You're not fixing that with clickers.
That bike is designed for 170 pounds.
Yeah, at most, right?
At most.
And so
I think 150 to 170 is what the design.
Most of them, yeah. So anyway, I hooked him up with Schmidt. We helped him try to find a good spring rate for him, and that's the answer. Is you got to figure out the.
Well, he needs valving too because.
Yeah, but he could get away with springs.
Yeah, okay.
We want to keep guys. Not everyone has the money to get valving. I understand, but when you're going to do that shock spring, because that's going to help you get your sag right, then you're probably going to need some fork springs as well. So it works out that way. So you do want to. You don't have to go crazy, but you want to get in the ballpark of the correct spring rate for you, front and rear on a bike like that. So clickers aren't going to solve that. Clickers to me, when I'm out at the track, it's 2 or 3 clickers, and it depends on the day. You're just adjusting for that day typically. So just something to keep in mind.
We have similar suspension on our 2 SXFs, and I rode yours the other day, and I went back and adjusted mine more like yours.
Okay, cool.
That one you're selling is so good.
So good. And I might ride it tomorrow. So that bike, what's funny is we had kind of gotten off on the suspension. I went back and put Racetech's settings back in it, and I'm happier with it right now with where it's at. I think Spencer did some tweaking, and I took some sag out, so I'm going to try it
We
tomorrow.
need to have a word with Spencer.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Nico L. Hello, my YZ250 is making a screeching noise, and I have no clue why. I have 750 cc's of oil in the case, and I checked my clutch plates, and they aren't stuck together. I sent you a video on Instagram on how it sounds and hoping you can guide me in the right direction. Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, video sounds are nearly impossible for us to tell anything unless it's like I don't know. It'd be obvious that it was beyond jacked up. So what I recommend is, first thing, also, when people write me these types of questions, they don't give me enough info. Is this a brand new 24 YZ250? I doubt it, of course. So, but tell me what the year is, how many hours are on it, so we have some ideas. But in this case, it sounds like now that after writing them back, it sounds like it's a little bit older. And the bearings do go out, and they will squalor. And a lot of times, if you fan the clutch while it's sitting there idling, you can hold the clutch in, hold it, you let it out, and you can kind of feel some differences. Then it's usually going to be that main. Not your main bearings for the crank, but the main counter shaft or output shaft bearings for the clutch.
Does that bike have that little bearing in the...
Yeah. Those don't usually go out. It's big one. It's the
Okay.
big one for the clutch shaft.
Yeah.
For that shaft. Which,
Behind the clutch.
Behind the clutch.
Yeah.
So that one or over at the counter shaft.
Could it be spinning in the case?
Not usually.
Okay.
It's just
because the main bearings can spin in the case.
And we just fixed one of these for Christy a while, like a year ago. It's been a while. But if it goes out, it's game over because it's going to grenade. So if you're hearing that sound, it's a warning.
It's time.
It's time. So, and then if
it's
that
telling you something.
If that bearing, it's like your wife yelling. Okay. Yeah. But anyway, so it's yelling at you and it's time to fix it. So what I would do is fix it. And when you fix this, it's not just that bearing. You're going to do your main bearings and a rod kit, a piston.
You do everything.
Do everything. It's a 2-stroke. So it's not that hard, not that expensive. Just do everything.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
If it's Helen, it's time.
All right, Wyatt C. What size would be a good engine stand to make out of some leftover 2x4s just for a big bike engine?
I forgot to bring it. You don't have one, right?
A what?
An engine stand, a wood block stand.
I don't have one.
All right, I'll bring it next show. Sorry, I was going to bring it and have my tape
I don't have
measure.
one. You know who has one? You have one.
I'll leave you one.
Yeah.
Why don't I leave you one?
All right.
So that way.
Because I go to your house and we do my engines over there.
So we'll skip that one, and I'll bring one in next show.
Okay, we'll skip one. We'll redo it.
And in the meanwhile, if he's listening, I've already answered him, I think. But if you're looking to build your own dirt bike test, Jimmy Lewis has a little video. If you go to his YouTube or Google dirt bike test engine stand, make your own. He has a little video showing you how to make one. So he does have one as well, and I'll bring in my used one next show. We'll show it.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I was in a hurry, man.
Yeah, we are in a hurry. Ruben R. Would it be possible to have a tire stand specs you've mentioned in your last video? Thanks. I believe it was 2006. I was a corner worker and flagger at Glen Helen Raceway National, and I saw you walk by. I only knew you from the magazines. I said, "Hi, Jay." You later gave me a Wiseco shirt. I was so stoked. Thanks all for all the work you do. Jay, have a good day.
I'm starting to tear up.
Dude, I didn't know you were such a humanitarian.
Yeah, almost 20 years ago, whatever. But it wouldn't have been, it's actually older than 06 because I had left Wiseco in 04.
Right.
So it had to be before 04.
Well, no. Okay, I guess.
I think it was before then.
Yeah.
I think it was 04 or before. I don't remember when, Glen Helen.
Is he sure it's a Wiseco shirt?
Yes.
That's my point.
Yeah, I bet he is.
Okay.
I bet he is.
Because if it's 06, does he still have that shirt?
Yeah, so I worked for Wiseco. For everybody doesn't know, I worked for Wiseco for like 11 or 12 years. And then they got bought by Big Evil Company, and which wasn't great. And they had some people in there that didn't really know what they're doing. Left, went to work for a great group. Kurt Leverton worked for them for a while, and they got sold to a even worse Big Evil Company.
How does that happen in the motorcycle industry? It happens all the time.
And
look at White Brothers. White Brothers was an amazing company.
Killed it.
And they went from amazing in about 2 years to gone.
So they got bought by another Big Evil Company.
Yeah.
So then I went back to Wiseco, which is owned by a different group now, which was really cool. So it's actually cool. Some of the same people are there, but most of all, there's some really good enthusiasts still at Wiseco Group. And Wiseco, the group, Race Winning Brands, owns Wiseco, Pro X, Recluse, JE, and a bunch of other automotive brands.
You should send this guy a shirt.
Right. Well, if he comes up to me at Glen Helen.
If he comes to you at Glen Helen, you need to have a shirt to give to him.
All right. Well, now after the show, everybody's going to come up and say they're this guy.
Then you better carry a lot of shirts.
I usually don't keep hardly any.
He doesn't have any shirts. I'm always asking you to bring me a shirt for the show, and look what I'm wearing, a blank shirt today.
Why is that?
You didn't bring me any shirts.
You have a bunch of Works Connection ones. You should have worn those.
I should have worn it. I didn't even think about it until right now, honestly. All right, man, that's all we got.
I don't even have any plain T-shirts. I have a couple.
I started wearing plain T-shirts.
She makes me wear them when we go out. I think she prefers it when we go out and...
I started wearing them like a year ago. I just got plain black and gray.
All right.
That's it, man.
What do we got? Okay. So
we got to talk about
CD time?
CD time.
And then we can do a last question. So CD time, this is a CD from 1971. So even before my time, I was just a little lad.
A wee lad.
This is Led Zeppelin's self-titled album. Do you know what order album this is?
It's the Led Zeppelin 4.
This is 4.
Okay, but it's not. It has no title.
Number.
It doesn't have a title, but it's routinely called Led Zeppelin 4. And it's called Led Zeppelin 4, but it's not Led Zeppelin 4. It's untitled. There is no title to it.
And is it the 4th album?
It is their 4th album.
Okay. All right.
So what happened on their 3rd album, the critics like tore it apart, and Jimmy Page got all mad, and so he made an album with no name. But they call it Led Zeppelin 4.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
So good.
I think this is one of the, I'm going to rank this as one of the best albums of all time.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not saying but I'm saying it's up there on that list.
It has to be. It has to be in there. And then because it paved the way for a lot of the rock music that we like from the 70s and 80s, from the later 70s, 80s, and early 90s.
I'm not trying to gain hate, so I'm not going to say the band, but there's a band that's very big from the 60s, 50s, 60s that I don't think really holds up. But if you listen to this music today, it's as good as it was then. You know,
one thing that bugs me is Robert Plant doesn't like to be classified as heavy metal. He doesn't like that they are a pioneer of heavy metal.
Yeah.
They get played on Ozzy's Boneyard, for instance, and this stuff. But anyway, they are the pioneers of hard rock, let's say. And this album, let's start here, right? Black Dog.
Black Dog.
It's so good, right?
So good.
What kind of an opening is that? I don't know that anybody had done anything like that.
No, you're starting out hard.
All right. Rock and Roll.
Yep.
Battle of Evermore.
Stairway to Heaven.
Stairway to Heaven, 7:55, almost 8 minutes.
Misty Mountain Hop.
Misty Mountain Hop. 4 Sticks. Going to California. And then kind of a mushy.
When the Levee Breaks.
And then When the Levee Breaks.
So Misty Mountain Hop is my favorite song, I think, out of all Led Zeppelin songs.
So this morning, before I came over, I just put it in real quick because I haven't listened to it in a while. And just went boom, boom, boom. So good. Like you said, you could still listen to it today, and it's every bit as good. So Led Zeppelin 4. I'm not sure if it's on Spotify. I would assume so, right? They'd be stupid if they're not.
Guess how many albums it sold. I don't want to over guess, but guess how many albums it sold.
Probably like 2.
37 million.
Stop it.
37 million.
Since this whole time.
Since this whole time.
Do you know what it did initially, like in the first year or two?
I don't know. Huh?
We'd have to look at that.
Yeah, we'd have to look at that.
Because I think a lot of this came later.
In the 80s, they had the box set too, right? Do you remember that big box set that came out?
And they had a lot.
But when that box set came out, people went back and bought all these other albums.
So for us growing up listening to rock in the 80s, obviously we never heard this. When do you think the first time you heard it was?
No. Well, you know,
had the big brothers.
I had big brothers, so I heard this in the 70s when I was in 77, 78, and 10, 11 years old.
So it was 6, 7 years old though.
You were 6, 7 years old,
right?
And so, but then in high school we were listening to it.
Yes. It was pretty cool because Stairway to Heaven is just such a almost overplayed to a certain extent. Because even in the 80s, man, it was everywhere.
First raunchy teen comedy. What do you think that was?
Oh, like the Porky's movies or something?
Not Porky's, not that raunchy. Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh yeah.
He says in the movie, you want to go on a date, you play side 2, Led Zeppelin 4.
So side 2 would be 5. Yeah, Misty Mountaintop, 4, 6, Going to California. Going to California is pretty good.
It's so good.
Yeah. So anyway, great album, getting back to our roots a little bit. Also, for whatever it's worth, I've been exploring a little bit more on Spotify. My daughter reminded me, because she does a lot of the comments sections, and we're getting a lot of comments for a Dirt Bike TV Spotify playlist. So I'm going to work on that.
Great idea.
Yeah, I'm going to work on that. It's going to be pretty big. I need to get working on it.
No, big is not the word. I mean, that would be...
But I want to have a good variety of a lot of the music I like.
Could you put 200 songs into that playlist?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
200, right?
But I don't want to just throw, like, it needs to be good stuff that I still, the music I put on there, I want it to be, that I would still want to listen to today.
No, for sure. I'm not just junk. Whatever you're going to listen to.
Yeah, today. So like a couple songs off of here, and you got just so many great bands, right? But then, and sometimes it's not
Dio,
always.
Man. Dio has got to be in there.
Yeah, exactly.
So, anybody that, I don't know if we talked about it on here, but anybody that hasn't watched that Dio documentary.
It's really good.
It's so good. Mm-hmm. Anyway, all right.
I just watched the Willie Nelson one.
It's really good too.
So good.
Yeah. His guitar, isn't that thing crazy?
Yeah. Trigger.
You trigger, yeah. Yeah.
So that was a good one. And I'm not a huge fan, but he's talented.
But you have to respect those guys all brought something to all of this music.
Yeah.
And you don't think of a guy like Glenn Campbell, but Glenn Campbell and Alice Cooper were best friends before Glenn Campbell died.
That's crazy.
Isn't that the craziest thing you've ever heard?
Yeah.
They were best. There's a famous picture of them at a red light camera that they blew, and they're going to golf because they would go golf together all the time. Alice Cooper and Glenn Campbell.
That's right.
Yeah. So.
All right, cool. Well, we got any last questions? What do we got?
Yeah, I wanted to know, like, you're not really into going to the races really any longer and watching the race. Do you remember the last best race that you went to?
It would have been the last Glen Helen, just because it was like 16 or 17. When was the last Glen Helen?
Yeah, 17.
Somewhere right in there. And it was just because I don't even know the battles. I have no idea who even won or anything. I couldn't even remember. But I just, at Glen Helen, we get treated a little well. So we can walk the track. We got the track passes. We're out there. It's just so cool seeing those bikes in that environment at Glen Helen. That's probably the only other pro race I would go to, is if they go back there for a national or donations, they go back there for anything like that, I would go back.
We've been doing this stuff together for like video stuff for like 15 years now or so. But I remember before that, you and I hung out at the Phoenix Supercross when it was at the Bob, and they had the pool, the jacuzzi in the back, and people would sit in that jacuzzi, remember?
Yes.
Anyway, you and I, you probably don't remember because you don't have it, but we were hanging out there the whole time watching the race right there.
I like that he knows that I don't remember.
Oh, I know. There's no way you would remember. But I have a crazy memory, so it's like, I don't know why.
Or remembering those races. So anyway, so hopefully you guys all enjoy the show. Anything else we should go?
No, I think we're good. Yeah.
Hopefully you guys enjoy some races this weekend. This is going to come up on probably race day or day before race.
I think race day is probably our best.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So you guys can enjoy the next round of races for those that like that kind of stuff, like us. Right? Like-minded people, we say.
Like-minded people.
Right. In so many different ways.
Yep.
All right. All right. Thanks, Donnie. Good time. We'll see you guys next time. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Support all of our good companies that we're going to be listing off right after this. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
We work with some great companies, and here's a list of those right now. Dunlop Motorcycle Tires, Wiseco Piston, Vinco Air Shocks and Dirt Bike Parts, FMF Exhaust, Decal Works Graphics, Pro X Racing Parts, Recluse Clutch Revolution, Motion Pro Specialty Motorcycle Tools, Works Connection, Uni Filter, Klotz Oil, Cometic Gasket, MX Plastics, JE Pistons, Cardo Systems, ODI Bars and Grips. And remember, if you shop Rocky Mountain, use our link from our site, Linktree, or link in description of the videos. Thanks for watching and listening. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.